Hi everybody, this is me Ali Mukhtar. I hope that you are doing well. Today's lecture is about Emily Bronte's novel Wuthering Heights. And we are going to start with the plot summary of this very important novel. And before we go to the plot summary, we have to elaborate some facts about this novel. Number one, we have to know that Wuthering Heights is the only novel written by Emily Bronte. Although it is the only one, it is one of world masterpieces. And Wuthering Heights belongs to kind of novels called the Gothic novels, and this type of novel was very popular in the 18th century. The Gothic novel means al-Ruwaya al-Ghutiyya, that means the narrator uses the technique of fear, horror, terrifying scenes to emphasize the story. And such technique, as critics say, keep the readers suspended and horrified from the events. And usually the writer of such novel uses supernatural elements like ghosts, or let me say strange incidents, to stir inside the readers the sense of fear. And again, the writers of such novel usually use old buildings like the churchyards, the graveyards, and the old houses. Again, these things stimulate inside the readers the sense of fear and horror. Moreover, we see that the plot of Wuthering Heights is very complex since it contains two generations of characters, and the second reason is the technique of narration that is used by the writer Emily Bronte. Wuthering Heights begins where the events about to end, and the end of the novel joins the beginning. تبدأ الرواية حيث تنتهي الأحداث ونهاية الرواية حيث بدايتها. هذه التقنية تقنية جديدة. It was very, let me say, unique way of narration at that time, and she succeeded, let me say, to astonish the readers at that time in such technique, because she didn't follow the traditional way of technique in writing novel. Emily Bronte, in this way of narration, used two techniques. Again, we are still with the technique of writing Wuthering Heights. The first one is called Foreshadowing Technique, which means to present events that anticipate what will happen in the future. If we read Wuthering Heights from the first 3-4 chapters, we are going to discover some hints, some incidents, which refer to the future, what will happen in the future. Again, we have another technique used by Emily Bronte, which is called the flashback technique. Flashback technique is the opposite of foreshadowing one, since this technique takes the readers into the past. In the foreshadowing and flashback technique, we are going to move from past to the present, from present to the past. Moreover, we are going to see that Emily Bronte used the technique of the omniscient narrator, or the third narrator. This narrator is the man who knows everything about the story, and she chose for this task the servant, Mrs. Nilladine. And Nilladine, or Mrs. Nilladine, is an eyewitness. She witnessed the whole events of the story, and then she is going to tell us the story from beginning to the end. And we as readers, okay, will trust her. Why we will trust her? Because she is an authentic narrator. Why? Because she was living with the family members and she knows all the details about the characters of the story. And then we have another narrator who is Mr. Liquid. Mr. Liquid, as we are going to see in the plot summary, is, let me say, a flat character. He's a very simple character. He's a man who comes to what? To this countryside, running away from the stir of society, from London. Because as you know, at that time, okay, the big industrial cities were very crowded with people and with factories, because it was the age of industrialism. And people at that time tended to run away from the stir of society, from the crowdness of society, to the countryside. And then we see he's going to what? Or he decided to rent Mr. Heathcliff's house. Now we are going to start with the first character in the story, Mr. Heathcliff. In the beginning of the story, okay, or in the beginning of the novel, we are going to see that Mr. Heathcliff, an old man, but later on, Mrs. Nilladine will take us back to the beginning of Mr. Heathcliff when he was a little child. Then she is going to trace his character from his childhood to the present time. Let us start with plot summary, and I'm going to elaborate some, let me say, incidents within the plot summary. Again, I will hint to some, let me say, themes and important facts about the age of this novel, and again about some basic characterization. As I told you before, that this novel has a very complex plot, and the plot centers on the remote farmhouse of Wuthering Heights on the Yorkshire moors. And then, as we see that this novel is about what? About the life of people in the countryside of England, in Yorkshire. And it is a very far away place from the center of England, from London. This is number one. And the title of Wuthering Heights is taken from the name of the house that where Mr. Heathcliff lives in. Okay. And on 2 generations of Earnshaw family. Then we have 2 generations of Mr. Earnshaw's family. We have to know that Heathcliff is not the owner of Wuthering Heights. Before him, Mr. Earnshaw was the owner of what? Of the house. يعني قبل مستر هيثكليف لا يكون هو مالك بيت Wuthering Heights، كان قبل Mr. Earnshaw. And this is really the beginning of the novel, because in the beginning of the novel we see that Mr. Heathcliff is the owner of Wuthering Heights, but we have some hints about Mr. Earnshaw that we will discover later on. It is narrated by Mr. Liquid. As I told you that the story has 2 narrators. القصة يسردها لنا 2 أو شخصين. It is narrated by Liquid, a visiting gentleman, and Mrs. Dean. Mrs. Dean, I mean Mrs. Nilladine. Yes. And what is important for us as readers is Mrs. Nilladine. She is a servant to the Earnshaws. She was what? The servant of the Earnshaws. كانت خادمة عائلة السيد Earnshaw. Heathcliff, a foundling from Liverpool. Let us start from this point. Heathcliff was what? Or he is a bastard boy. Bastard, that he is fatherless and motherless. one day Mr. Earnshaw decided to go to Liverpool. Why? We don't know. He went to Liverpool and he returned bringing with him a child. يعني قرر السيد أرنشو أن يذهب إلى ليفربول وأتى بطفل. This child was named Heathcliff and he was highly loved by Mr. Earnshaw. And here critics raise many doubts about the reason why he loved him in such way, to the extent that he preferred him to his son Hindley. يعني فضله حتى على ابنه. And this, let me say, way of treatment let Hindley to be what? Envious. And then there was a kind of struggle between Heathcliff and Hindley. أصبح الصراع بين هندلي الابن الشرعي لمستر أرنشو and هيثكليف اللي عثر عليه الأب في ليفربول. بعض النقاد يقولون هو ابنه الحقيقي، ولما سمع بأنه أمه تريد تموت راح جابه وإجه. يعني he is what? His illegal son. By the way, again, this is very important point that we have to take into account, that Heathcliff is a dark-skinned boy. He's a gypsy. هو من الغجر، بشرة سوداء. And imagine this dark-skinned boy lives now with white-skinned family. يعني طفل ذو بشرة سوداء يعيش مع عائلة بيضاء في القرن الثامن عشر. This is really one of the contradictions in the story. Again here, Emily Bronte highlights the problem of what called the social discrimination between the white and the dark people. Is brought to the Heights, to Wuthering Heights, by Mr. Earnshaw to be treated like his own children. He treated him like his own children, and more than his children, especially more than his son Hindley. Catherine and Hindley, these are the two sons of Mr. Earnshaw. In the beginning they hated Heathcliff, but the daughter, Catherine, loved him later on. Loved him purely because they were children. But later on, something else will happen. Because this love, will grow day after day. حب طفولي ينشأ من الطفولة بين Heathcliff and Catherine. Both of them are wild, and then they spend most of their time in the moors, في المستنقعات، في الغابات الذي كانت تحيط في بيت Wuthering Heights، وكانوا يلعبون سوية away from Hindley. And we see that Hindley's sister Catherine denied him, and she preferred to play with Heathcliff. أخت هندلي أنكرته، هملته، قررت أن تلعب مع Heathcliff. وهنا نشأت الغيرة بداخل من؟ Envy inside Hindley. Yes. But after Earnshaw's death, Hindley bullies and disgrades Heathcliff. With the passage of time, we see that Mr. Earnshaw grew old and he was about to die. And when he was dying, he kept Heathcliff in his own arm. He loves him too much. Unfortunately, this kind father died, and then Hindley seized the chance, the opportunity to mistreat Heathcliff. هنا الولد بعد وفاة أبوه اغتنم الفرصة، أصبح هو سيد البيت، هو الكبير، فبدأ يعامل هيثكليف بصورة سيئة. What he did first, he dismissed Heathcliff. He deprived him from his education. He prevented him to go to school. He deprived him to get his education, and he imposed on him great labor. He spent most of his time laboring in the farm, Heathcliff. While Hindley was the master, he was the slave. Here we have the theme of slavery. We have the theme of denial. We have the theme of mistreatment. He leaves because Catherine despises... let us come to this point before. Heathcliff loves Catherine, as I told you before, but Catherine, one day, while they were playing in the farms and they were near to the Thrush Cross Grange house, اكو بيت آخر يقع من الجهة الأخرى من هذه المنطقة يسمى بيت Thrush Cross Grange, and there the dog of this house attacked Catherine, and Heathcliff ran away. بينما كانوا يلعبون الأطفال في الحقول اقتربوا من بيت ثرش كروس جرانج، وكلب هذا البيت هاجم كاثرين وسقطت على الأرض. And then she was taken by this kind family who has two children, Edgar and Isabella. إذن العائلة الثانية عندهم أولاد اثنين، Edgar and Isabella. They decided to keep Catherine with them, to take care of her because of the bite of the dog. بسبب عضة الكلب قرروا أن يبقوا كاثرين في بيتهم for 40 days. And they were very, let me say, gentle family, highly educated family, not like the Wuthering Heights family, because they were farmers, and Mr. or the Thrush Cross Grange family were highly educated people. Catherine spent there 40 days, and when she returned from Thrush Cross Grange, she was another girl. She was not like Catherine before. There was a great transformation in her personality. Now she turned into a lady. This is really the turning point in the story. She now is what? She now is a lady. Not like before. She was what? A wild girl. But now she is a lady. And this turning point affected Heathcliff too much. And this is really the beginning of the change in the life of Catherine and Heathcliff. Because Heathcliff, the dirty boy, the gypsy, the dark-skinned one, cannot shake hand with Catherine before. And he rejected to shake hand with her. He says, I am dirty. I can't. I don't want to what? Shake hand with a lady like you. But Catherine still loves him. But she denied his love. And after that we see Edgar comes to ask her hand. And she accepted him. Unfortunately, she accepted him. And she told Milladine that I love Heathcliff. And I love Hindley too. Sorry, Edgar. But my love to Heathcliff is a heavenly love. My love to Edgar is worldly love. هذه نقطة الانطلاقة في الرواية وفي الأحداث الساخنة. أخبرت الخادمة والمربية الهنيلدين اللي هي تروينا القصة بأنها تحب كلاهما. تحب هيثكليف حب سماوي، حب أفلاطوني، حب مثالي، حب سامي جدا، spiritual love not materialistic. وتحب إدغار حب دنيوي because he is a rich man, because he is going to give her his name, the name of the family. Then this is really the beginning of separation. Again, unfortunately, when Heathcliff was listening to the conversation between Catherine and Nelladine, he didn't hear the whole story. Half of the story. When she said, I love Edgar, he decided to run away from Wuthering Heights to nowhere. قرر أن يهرب من Wuthering Heights من المنطقة إلى المجهول. After that, we see that Catherine got married from Edgar and Heathcliff ran away. After that, Heathcliff returned home after 3 years. But now he is what? He's a rich man. He is what? He is a rich man. Yes, he's a rich man. He is different. He's a gentleman and he has good fortune. And now he has a plan in his mind, because you know that he is now a rich man and he has authority. His plan was to destroy the two families and to dominate the property of the two houses. And then he decided to lend هندلي money to keep him drink. أول خطوة قرر أن يعطي المال إلى هندلي ليجعله طوال الوقت يسكر ويشرب الكحول. And we have to know that Hindley got married from a woman called Frances, and then she died soon and left for him a boy whose name is Heriton. هندلي تزوج وترك ولد من زوجته لأن زوجته توفت بالمرض اسمه Heriton. And this is very important character, because in the beginning of the story we are going to be acquainted with this character who is a young man. As we see that Thrushcross Grange, instead Heathcliff, returns to wreak what? Vengeance. إذن شن الانتقام on his enemies. Weakened by his accusations of betrayal, Catherine dies after giving birth to a girl. Catherine, Heathcliff's love, dies and she gave birth to a daughter named Catherine. Then we have two Catherines. Catherine the mother and Catherine the daughter. And at the beginning of the novel, the ghost that appears to Mr. Liquid is the ghost of Catherine the mother. And the girl that Mr. Liquid met in Wuthering Heights is Catherine the daughter. البنية اللي قابلها بالبيت مستر ليكويد من اجى زار مستر هيثكليف في البيت في الفصل الأول هي كاثرين the daughter. والولد هو ابن هندلي، يعني ولد عمه. البنية والولد ما متزوجين هما كانوا، لكن هما أقارب. Yes. Heathcliff marries Edgar's sister Isabella. Part of his plan, part of his scheme، جزء من الخطة مالته هيثكليف to what? To tempt Isabella, Edgar's sister, to marriage. And he succeeded to marry her. But later on, when he married her, he treated her badly, aggressively, and then she ran away from him. But she gave birth to a boy, okay, and now Heathcliff has a boy, okay, whose name is Linton. He destroys Hindley, as I told you. he turned him to be a drunkard and gambler. خلاه يصير مقامر ويحتسي الشرب حتى يسيطر على الثروة الذي يمتلكها من هو هندلي, because he lent him money. He destroys Hindley, as I told you, and then he gains control of the heights. He controlled the house. He controlled Wuthering Heights because now he, let me say, because I told you that he lent Hindley too much money. To secure the Linton family property, he forced a marriage between young Catherine and Linton. Then he decided to what? To force Catherine, Mr. Edgar's daughter, and the daughter of Catherine, the dead one, to marry his son Linton. إذن خلى بنت كاثرين حبيبته تتزوج ابنه Linton, and Linton was a weak person. He was sick son. When Linton dies, after getting married from Catherine, he died and left her what? Widow. The young widow develops an interest in Hareton. They started love each other. You see? Hareton, the son of Hindley, and Catherine, the daughter of Mr. Edgar, now they are in love. Imagine, Hareton is the real owner of Wuthering Heights, and Catherine is the real owner of Thrushcross Grange. Now they are in love. المالك الشرعي لوذرينغ هايتس هو هاريتون، الوريث الشرعي للبيت، لأن بيت أبوه مو بيت هيثكليف. والوريثة الشرعية لبيت ثراشكروس جرانج هي كاثرين ابنة إدغار. لذلك احنا في بداية الرواية نشوف هيثكليف يدعي ان كل البيتان Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange, he said they are mine, but in reality they are not his. They are the houses of these two persons. As we see, Hindley's son, whom Heathcliff has brought up in brutish ignorance. As we see, underline this very important point, that Heathcliff tended to treat this man, this young boy, Hareton badly. عامله بطريقة سيئة جدا. Because why? Because Heathcliff was treated badly by the father of Hareton. لأن أبو Hareton, Hindley, عامله بمعاملة سيئة. He deprived him from his education, from his learning, from a lot of, let me say, life necessities. Now it is the turn that Heathcliff to what? To destroy this boy. But we have to know that the power of love is stronger than everything. And Heathcliff decided to what? To leave these two persons to love each other, and then he was busy with the ghost of Catherine. بقى مشغول بشبح وروح Catherine, that she was moving, soaring about Wuthering Heights. مثل ما شفنا in the beginning of the novel, we have two dreams, and these two dreams are so important. One of these dreams is the what? Is the dream of Mr. Liquid, when Catherine asked Mr. Liquid to what? To be in. تتوسل بي كروح، تقول له خليني أدخل إلى Wuthering Heights. لكن تعرفون القصة اللي راح تقروها بالرواية وتشوفون. Heathcliff, after discovering that Mr. Liquid was rejecting the entrance of Catherine, he started shouting, opening the window at night, saying, Catherine, please, come in, come in. Later on, Heathcliff dies and he was asked to be buried beside Catherine. And in the end of the story, Hareton and Catherine got married, and the two houses returned to the owners, and the novel ends happily for Hareton and Catherine and sadly for Heathcliff. Heathcliff was, or he thought that he is going to be reunited with the spirit of Catherine in the other world, and now the two pure persons, the innocent persons, Hareton and Catherine, living in Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange, return to them. This is really the summary of Wuthering Heights, the plot summary. In the coming lecture, I'm going to elaborate some important themes, and I'm going to talk about the characters of Catherine, Heathcliff, and other ones deeply and profoundly to make sense of elaboration about such themes which are included in your own, let me say, course of novel teaching. Thank you very much.